Okay.
But what do I do? Interesting question. So I assume you mean what do I do professionally?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been a physicist pretty much the whole time I've been in the U.S. I came to the U.S. in 1981. Went to college here actually right after high school. So I got my bachelor's in physics. Then I went to grad school in physics. And went to live in Canada after I got my PhD in physics. Then came back to the US. And so since I've been back in the US since about 1995, 96,
Wow.
I've been doing research in high-powered lasers. So that's the general field I've been working in.
So sounds like you spent a lot of years in the college and universities, huh?
Yeah, yeah. People thought I was going to be a professional student. Pretty much, yeah.
So how many
'Cause-
how many
So,
years?
so think about it, right? 4 years in college,
Yeah.
about 7 years in graduate school,
Wow. 11.
and another 4 years for postdoc, right?
Yeah.
So that's like 15 years just in school, more or less, I would say. I mean, being a postdoc is a little bit different than
Yeah.
being in school, but yeah.
So where do you work? No, you work in Portland, right?
Right now, I work right outside of Portland in Vancouver, Washington, which is just on the other side of the river.
So you do work with the laser development?
Yeah, so I work for this company. We make several classes of lasers. One is called semiconductor laser, and so there's a whole range of semiconductor lasers. So we work on the high power semiconductor lasers, and there's another class of lasers called fiber lasers,
Wow.
which is kind of a new technology, which is related to actually the fibers that are used for communication.
No, really?
Yeah, because in those fibers also, light gets amplified actually.
Wow.
Okay, so it's actually based on that same technology, except now we take that fiber, modify it, improve upon it, but we're able to put multi kilowatts of power into
Wow.
something that's smaller than diameter of human hair, essentially.
Wow.
And once you put that much power into such a small fiber, it basically can cut metal. So you can cut through a couple of inches of steel or aluminum or copper, or you can basically weld materials. So if you think about modern cars,
Yeah.
all the modern cars, the aeroplanes, the shipbuilding, all of these are essentially using very high powered lasers
Oh, really?
for either cutting purpose to make the parts
Yeah.
or to join them.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest applications that we work on. But then if you think about technologies that you, me, we all use, like the handheld phones, it's ubiquitous, it's everywhere. To make that phone, you typically need something like 34 to 40 different types of lasers. It's like having a screwdriver or, like to put something together.
Yeah.
So the glass that you see on the top,
Yeah.
that glass is cut with a laser. That glass is attached with a laser. And then in the back plane, there's many, many layers of electronics there. So all of that is either assembled, put together, solder or joint. So you literally need 34 to 40 different types of lasers
Oh,
to
wow.
make that phone.
Wow.
And some of the lasers we make, we sell to other manufacturers that put our lasers into their tools in order to realize these tools that we use on a daily basis.
I remember when I met you like about more than 10 years ago, 10 or 15. That time you mentioned about green laser.
Right.
Well, what is that? Is it
Green
still,
laser?
Yeah. Is it still
Yeah,
used?
green laser is, if you think about, so you're an artist, you know about colors.
Yeah.
For the human eye,
Yeah.
we have, you have brightness, external brightness, right?
Yeah.
You can measure it. But the human eye has responsivity.
Oh.
And human eyes respond, or our sort of a optical system, so to speak, biological system, it's most sensitive at roughly about 520 to 530 nanometer in wavelength, which is green, basically. And the reason, for example, the light for go is green is because you're most sensitive to green.
Oh.
You're actually less sensitive to red. So in other words, if you want to see same brightness for green, you need less power of green than if you need for red. And yeah.
Oh, that's why, like in RGB, in the so the LED that is RGB, so green requires less light,
Less power.
less power,
Less intensity, but you see the same amount of intensity in your brain ultimately.
Wow.
It's the responsivity of the eye is like that, right? So green is a very important, and especially and it depends on the exact wavelength. So 520 to 530 nanometers. So like today, for example, they're talking about augmented reality or virtual reality. You've probably seen these glasses, right? You can wear these glasses, and usually it's they're trying to get all three colors ultimately, so that you can. And so they usually have a laser that's shooting, and one of them, the most prolific one, is a green. So I used to make green lasers. They make green lasers today in a variety of different formats, and that's what's used to project, because human eye is very sensitive to it. So you don't need a lot of power. So with less power, you can still see very bright, in the background of ambient light.
Right.
But that's for any application where you want to do projections, for example, of images. Whether you want to use it as a projector, like there are handheld projectors actually these days, like out of the phone. So to make a small projector, it's like the size of a matchbox, and typically you need one of the colors you need is green. You can make red laser very easily. So we make red lasers also. Those are very cheap to make, very efficient. But the green is very hard, actually. And now blue also has become, in fact, there was a Nobel Prize given for the guy who invented it, who lives not far from here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So blue and red are made very easily
Yeah.
in semiconductor lasers, which is the kind of laser I work on. But the green is very hard to make with semiconductor chip. And so if you make it on a semiconductor chip, then what happens is it's much more efficient. It can be small form factor, and you can put it on things like these glasses that will give you virtual reality or augmented reality, or little projectors that you can carry in your pocket, for example.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the green. But green's used for a lot of other applications also. Yeah. So green is a very important color, because a lot of materials absorb green very readily. So if you want to do materials processing, so any type of silicon plant, like if you think about Intel, they use lots of green lasers to process silicon, for example, because it gets absorbed and they can use it as a tool, basically.
Have some more wine.
All right, you're inspiring me.
Okay, now I heard about your detail about laser. I don't grasp everything, but it was very interesting, and now I want to hear more about what you said. You have a band in Portland, and who are involved, and what do you guys do?
Yeah, we, I mean, I like to use the other part of my brain also. I use too much one side of my brain for everything we just talked about.
Yeah.
But I've always been passionate about music, but I haven't had opportunity for a long time. So in the past 7-8 years, I met a bunch of people in Portland, a drummer, a singer, and so we kind of formed a band called Munda. Munda, yeah, this is the name of the band. We have a little Facebook page on it.
So who are in the group?
So we have the drummer's name is Bikram Vaidya.
Oh, the chef.
The chef, yeah, and he's also a teacher, chef, very famous.
Yeah.
We have another Vaidya. He's our singer. He plays the keyboard. He can play bass. He can play flute. He can play lots of things. So he's our all-round musician. I play mostly lead in the band, and we have Randall Cronwell, and Randall sings and plays both bass and rhythm,
Yeah.
And we have a couple of newcomers also. So we have, this has been the core in the band, but I have a cousin,
Yeah.
might be related to you also,
Oh.
Prasanna Tuladar. Yeah, so he plays bass and rhythm as well. And then we have a newcomer, Anil Shah, and he also plays lead. So we have a lot of people in the band right now.
Nice.
And typically we do a lot of fundraisers in town. So we're helping out for different causes.
Yeah.
We'll play in breweries or museums or high schools or middle schools. And we also have a Nepali, there's a venue there called Nepache.
Yeah.
And so there's a nice venue that fits about 200 people with a stage. So we perform there a lot for a lot of Nepali functions.
Oh, that sounds great. Hopefully, in the future, when you do one of the diaspora art shows,
Yeah.
maybe you guys can perform.
Sure, yeah.
That'll be fun.
Sure, we can do that. And then we play every weekend actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I've converted your garage. You've converted to this.
Yeah.
I've converted my garage to a music studio,
Oh, nice.
jam studio. So we play just about every weekend.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So you play electric guitar?
Well,
or-
mostly we play electric, but I mean I play acoustic. I play a little mandolin also. Yeah.
Nice. So, so what else you do? In
Well, as you know,
Yeah.
we go a long time back. Actually, do you remember in Balmandir there was
Yeah,
there was
you
art
played, right?
competition?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you and I were in that same competition.
Yeah.
And of course, it's not very surprising that you won the first prize in the art
Oh,
competition.
you were in that competition?
Yeah, I was in that competition also. Yeah, and but I've always aspired to do art also. So I've in the last year or so, I've done more. But in the past 10 years, I've been doing 1 or 2 pieces of art every year, and I'm aspiring to do some more. But yeah, I'm still learning.
Well, we all are always learning.
Yeah,
so
but I'm at a little earlier stage of learning than you are.
well, the thing is, once we stop learning, then we cease to,
That's true. That's
because
true. Yeah.
those who
Yeah.
are eager to learn,
Yeah.
is always get
Yeah.
better.
But see, I'm at kindergarten learning, and you're more like PhD, perhaps a couple of PhDs, and still learning.
Well, there's no limit to
That's true. And
art.
there's no limit to art and music, and that's
Yeah.
what is very interesting for me also. And just being able to use different parts of my brain to express and to explore, really.
No, actually, I realize, in a lot of times, like art, when you start getting into it, a lot of times it may not have any reason or any use. Like, and I realize it doesn't just happen in art, but also happens in physics, mathematics. A lot of people are
Sure.
doing. It gets so abstract. I have a friend who is a mathematician, and I asked her, "Is there a use, or what do you do?" At some point, it becomes,
Yeah.
like almost like a continuation. I don't know how to say it.
Well, no, mathematics especially is
Yeah.
is as abstract as it gets, right? It's
Yeah.
it's not really a science because of that reason. It's it's used in science, of course, like in physics, but oftentimes the ideas are so abstract that it's only when used in other fields of science like physics or chemistry or biology that you apply it for a particular system. That's when it becomes real in some sense. Mathematics becomes real, but in its own
Yeah.
as it is invented often or
Almost
yeah.
feels like abstract painting. Huh?
It is. It's completely abstract, in the sense that it talks about a system basically, right?
Yeah.
And then you can apply that system to something that exists in nature.
Yeah, actually, I found out like last time I talked with her, she said it was everything abstract, but her mathematics is used in stock market thing now.
You can apply it.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
you can apply it.
and she's got a lot of success in doing it.
Sure.
And she also comes she's from France, comes
Uh-huh.
as a visiting professor to UC Berkeley
Yeah.
regularly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Mathematics is certainly that branch of that branch of science, which is I think is probably one of the most abstract that it can be, right?
So another question: in America, are there a lot of Nepali physicists,
Physicists.
or it's a
I
small community? Or
I think it's a small community. I've come across a handful, but I'm sure it's it's a growing, as a function of time. But especially, when I came, I think there were very few of us, but there are many more today. Yeah, and I've run into definitely a handful. I would say like a dozen other, especially even in my field, or even other branches of physics. Yeah.
all right. Yeah, it's great to have you, Manoj, and he's one of the leading laser designers in a very what's a very advanced high-tech laser development company, right?
Right now, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And also, last time you said you also worked on the laser development for those high-end scanners and stuff too.
For the high-end scanners.
Scanners. What kind of laser you use in those, like scanning images and stuff?
Well, so lasers are used in a lot of digital work, like either printing.
Yeah.
Are you referring to that? So,
Yeah.
so yeah, we've made lasers, and they're being used today in a lot of large format printing. So, not just your like a small laser printers, but like very large format printers.
okay.
Yeah. So they need much higher power.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's definitely lasers being used for that. But the new type of printing that's happening
Yeah.
with lasers is actually, you might have seen a lot of 3D printing in
Yeah.
plastics or
Yeah.
resin, but they're starting to do that in metal.
Yeah.
So powder bed. So you can make, printed parts that are unimaginable
Yeah.
in terms of machining,
Yeah. I've seen.
but you can make these parts that have incredible functionalities. That's all done with high power laser that
Yeah.
basically melts material. It could be aluminum, it could be copper, it could be steel, and you can make parts or hybrid parts.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of parts that are being used in aerospace today
Yeah.
are printed by 3D printing machines that use some of our lasers.
Great. Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. And thanks. And also, you want to say anything to our viewers?
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Yeah. And also, how often you go to Nepal? And
Well, if I do an average, I would say I've been to Nepal almost on the average every 2 to 3 years. But some years I go every year. Some years I skip. So, but I promised my family that I'd be back every year. So that's what I'm aspiring towards. Of
Yeah.
course, COVID put a little dent on that, but I intend on going back every year.
so, what about physics? Are there good physics community in Nepal?
I don't know. I'm sure there is, but I don't have any information on that that I can speak to. I have given a couple of talks in the past in Nepal at the Engineering Institute, but I'm sure there's a community of physicists in Nepal. But I'm not working with any of them. I'm mostly involved with the physics and the optics and the laser physics group in the U.S. Germany, Japan, UK, France. Those are the primary collaborations, I would say.
Great. Thanks. And also, I want some images of your paintings and your band. So,
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
that'll be nice. So that way people can see.
Yeah, I have it.
Yeah. If you can email me.
I have it with me. You can just upload it right now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, great. Yeah, I'm gonna upload it. And
I came prepared.
and namaste and thank you, and please subscribe. It's still a very new channel, and please subscribe. That's the way you can help and start with that. Namaste.
All right.
Well, it's very informal.